On tonight's episode,
this dude walks on the stage and he has this belt on his shoulder.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, dude, what is this guy doing? He had like this big hood on. He had like a not just a hoodie. He had like a big hood, and he had his face down, and the lights on him, and he started scratching. My jaw just like dropped.
Welcome to Battle Chronicles Live, the true stories behind the battles.
Yo, stop fronting and use your head.
Yeah, so I grew up in my parents' restaurant. My parents had a restaurant in the 80s and 90s, and so I always grew up around music. You know, my parents loved listening to music at home, and my sisters were both singing in their school band, whatever. And I would fall asleep, you know, at night listening to the parties downstairs in the restaurant. I would fall asleep with my ear on the floor, you know, listening to Elton John and all kinds of old. So I was always into music, and of course music that came over from the States to Germany or to Europe, you know. And at some point, a kid, his name was Frank, who I was playing football with, he told me at his house one day that his older brother just got this tape that I'd have to listen to. It's like this new music from the United States. And this was 88. So pretty late, if you know, as in the sense, somewhat late, but it was here just starting, you know, so yeah. 88. And I have to say, what's really the irony of it, this kid later turned out to be a skinhead who introduced me to my first hip hop tape. And it was the Public Enemy album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Yeah. Which to me personally is still the greatest hip hop album of all time. I mean, if you listen to it now, you're wondering like, dude, how the hell did they produce this back then? You know, what did they use? How they come up with these ideas? How they get inspired by what, you know? And this album, I just ate. I mean, when I first heard Bring the Noise, I was just like, oh, dude, what the hell is this? You know, I totally freaked out and listened to this tape, you know, day in, day out. And then at some point, not that much, can't be that much long after that, maybe like a half a year, it turned out that Public Enemy was coming to Hamburg. And my parents didn't want to let me go at first, you know, I was like 15. But they ended up letting me go with my friend and with two friends of mine. And there was Public Enemy and was Run DMC, the Tougher Than Leather tour. And the opening act was Derek B from England. Rest in peace. You know, he died in a car accident years ago. Mm-hmm. And his DJ was a fella named DJ Scratch. The wow. DJ Scratch, yes.
Wow.
You know, the lights went down, and this dude walks on the stage, and he has this belt on his shoulder.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, dude, what is this guy doing? And then the announcer said like something and DJ World Champion, DJ Scratch and whatever. And he had like this big hood on. He had like a not just a hoodie. He had like a big hood, like looked like one of these Jedi hoods, you know, like a big one. And he had his face down, and the lights on him, and he started scratching. And I was like, dude, what is? Then he took his hood off and took his jacket and did all this shit. And then he just, you know, he was really back then known for doing his backspins. And I think he was taking his shirt off while he was doing his backspins or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And he was incredibly good. It's still to this day, scratching wise, he was just, you know, the ultimate. His whole demeanor and his whole approach and how he did it, my jaw just like dropped, just like the entire evening. I couldn't think of, even Public Enemy was there, and I couldn't stop thinking about like, dude, I have to, what this guy just do there? I have to fucking know what he did. And then knowing this guy's the world champion, there's championships for this? And he's the best in the world? Holy fucking crap. Who is this guy? So anyway, I went home, and the next day I went to my parents' basement my parents had a restaurant, as I said, and they had a lot of live musicians come in from Yugoslavia. That's where we were from, you know, and then performing. Then I knew we always had like some sort of equipment laying around in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found a Zanyo turntable, an old turntable, and a mixer, realistic. So I took these things upstairs, you know, and set everything up and you know, took like hours to plug it in, went back to the basement, got another, you know, RCA cable and whatever. And then touched the needle and finally got it to work, you know, I got to hear the sound. I'm like, dude, you need like a fucking record to scratch with, obviously. And I went back to my dad's or to our living room. So the first record I dug up was a Dean Martin record. I don't know what song it was. My dad loved Dean Martin. And I just started scratching to Dean Martin. And then I just started to buy records in Hamburg. For the first weeks, or maybe like month or two, I just scratched without any background, without any music in the back, but just doing the baby scratch, you know, and just messing around. And that was my first encounter, basically. And my parents always wondered, what the hell are you doing, you know? And at that time, I was wanting to, you know, just practice in my room and do what I do. And I didn't even know what to measure it by. Of course, I can hear some scratches in an album, you know, and I tried to redo those scratches too, whatever. And at some point, I was scratching at a party. There was a lot of house parties back in the day, you know. I went to this house party at this basement, which later on, half a year later, actually became my practice basement. It was a basement from a villa that my friend's dad used to own. And it was packed, everybody was dancing, whatever, you know, and there was 2 turntables, obviously, in a mixer. And I just started scratching to a beat, you know, to the crowd. And everybody was freaking out. And I'm like, oh, cool, they seem to like what I'm doing. And afterwards, some kid came up to me and said, and he asked me if I ever entered any sort of competition or whatever. And I was like, what do you mean? I mean, I saw this guy last year on stage who was a world champion, but I don't think they have that in Germany. And he said, yeah, they have that all over the world. And I've been watching these tapes and, you know, you should come by my place and we can take a look at some of these tapes and whatever. And so I hooked up with him and I went over to his house at some point and he showed me the first tape I saw was the '89 World Championships. But I remember, first thing I remember was the very first guy from Australia. Yeah. I remember him being the first one, and I'm like, well, that's cool, but I think I can do something like that. Maybe I can even do it better than that, you know. And I remember, I think was Elliot Ness in that one too.
Yeah.
I always loved him because he was so ultra clean. He didn't use and he didn't use headphones. Yeah. You know, he was like a classic needle dropping, you know, god for me back then. I think the guy from Italy, I remember.
Oh, Cutmaster G, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, Aladdin, which was when I saw him, it totally blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. I was like, I watched that over and over like 500 times. I was like, dude, I want to be you.
Yeah.
And I like Cutmaster Swift too, because he put that extra little show effect into it and also did some mixing itself, you know. So all around, I can get why he won. And after that, I'm like, dude, come on, I gotta get me another turntable, and you know, and the one that I got out of my parents' basement, that one I kept, and I got a 1200 from my dad, and I kept using this realistic mixer. The only thing that and you have to use a WD-40 to loosen up the fader.
Yeah, that was a tough fader. Yeah, that's a tough fader. Yeah, terrible
back then. And and back then barely anyone was scratching with faders. You were scratching with the line switch, you know. Yeah. And it was really short, and that thing just, you know, busted up my fingers, you know. But that's what I used to scratch with, basically. And then, you know, I also put my turntables both on the left. And then a friend of my dad's who worked at a hi-fi store, he got us a good deal on one of these. I don't know what it looked like a Newmark, but it wasn't. It was like some cheap version of a Newmark, I think. And the reason it worked so good for me was because the fader was on the very left. I mean, the mixer is, wider than a turntable, almost as wide as two turntables.
Yeah.
But the fader was on the very left. And since I put my turntables both left, the fader was basically right there.
Right.
Then I just basically start practicing, bought records, did mixtapes, invited people over. We had little battles at my place, and then there was a battle coming. I think it was like fall time, September, October '89. And DMC had there was hip hop magazines back then, and DMC had an ad out, German eliminations. I'm like, dude, there's one in Hamburg. I got to go. And me and my friend said, we got to go, and prepared myself. My two friends, Marcus and Manuel, and they were my little crew back then, and they were like, yeah, dude, it's fucking so good, dude. You're gonna blow them all away and whatever. This wasn't the year that I won.
This was the year before. And
I threw my application into the mail, into the post box, and I was thinking, like, dude, okay, are you going to just put this letter in there? There's no turning back if you do, And I called this guy Uwe like every other day. There was the guy's name who ran the chapter in Germany. Yeah, so I read that I have to bring my own system. What do you mean by system? Do I have to bring my own turntables? And like, no, dude, you can just, just bring your cartridges. I'm like, I don't have any. And, I don't have any cartridges. And he's like, yeah, we'll have some there. You just show up and, just bring your slip mats, whatever. Yeah, and I showed up, with my, I still have it. I just found it the other day. No joke. I have my DJ MPK belt buckle.
Wow.
And I had my, my Public Enemy hat and my Magic Johnson t-shirt and whatever, and I walked in and I saw people at soundcheck, Mirko was there.
Yeah.
DJ Dave was there. Guy named DJ Kuhlmann was there, which ended up being a legendary hip hop club DJ in the DJ scene in Hamburg. And since I guess Uwe knew these guys, I thought we were supposed to take numbers, who's going and what, but he kind of just said, you go first, because he obviously knew me from being so nervous my first time. I'm not gonna
just get it over with.
Just get it over with, dude. Before the club gets packed, we'll just let you go on, make you fool out of yourself in front of as few people as possible. And of course, went up there, bombed it, I was fucking terrible, because I thought what I was doing was like, and it did some mixing actually too, and, but nothing, obviously nothing at all to just be anyone going like, oh shit, dude, that was dope, But then I saw the other guys come up, and the last three that come up, Kuhlmann, he brought his own monitor box and he set it up on the table. I'm like, dude, what is this guy doing? He had like a monitor box, and he totally killed it. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? These guys are fucking really good. I mean, I suck really, really bad. And then Mirko came up. Mirko had his graffiti shirt on, his airbrush shirt with his Zulu Nation necklace thing, and dude, and he killed it. I remember he had like this Run's House routine, and I watched this routine. I'm like, dude, okay, I'm going home, dude. This is fucking literally just really killed it. Period. And the way he was doing Transformer scratches, everything is so clean. He had the crowd in check, and then there was a long break, I remember, and they're waiting for the last guy to come on. So, and everybody's like, dude, it's like, everybody's like starting to get nervous, and you can hear boos here and there, like, dude, when is this, when is the last dude coming? And you see a little guy, like head shorter than me, skinny as fuck, with this big leather jacket, and had like this really arrogant demeanor, the way he walks on stage, didn't greet anybody, didn't look at anybody, just walked and set up his shit, and yeah, this is DJ David, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know him, but then he performed and everyone is like, okay, dude, this is fucking too much. I mean, he was what Mirko did, in retrospect, it impressed me more because it was just like true to the music and but Dave was just fast at whatever he's doing. He wasn't really musical at all. He was just really, really fast and doing really fast scratches, really fast tricks, and that intrigued me as well. I thought like, dude, this is fucking crazy, both of these dudes. And Dave won, and then of course Dave went on to win the championship. Before that was a lot of bedroom DJs, but he made it like really fashionable. Like when he won, everybody was like, dude, I want to, I can do that, or I want to do that, and I want to. It's not like I want to be like Mike, but it's still like I want to, this is really cool. And obviously somebody from our hometown is a world champion. It was a huge deal in Hamburg and for the scene, definitely. But at the same time, he wasn't for the certain peers really accepted because he wasn't a hip hop DJ, He knew how to scratch. He knew how to do really good tricks and do them fast, but he was by any means was not a hip hop DJ. I was, with the B-boys, and the writers and, those dudes. And he was with the guys who were Levi's jeans and leather jackets and white T-shirts and gelled hair, Those are the guys he hung out with, his people would drive up with the Range Rover, and we all come by bus, hop in the turnstiles, because we didn't have money for a ticket. So, but what Dave did definitely changed a lot and made me certainly practice more. And I'm using the same equipment. I'm carrying my shit everywhere. I'd go. All I wanted to do is play anywhere for no money, any jam. Any party, I would carry my bag with my best 30 records in the bag. And I used to play tennis back then, so I didn't have a record bag. I had like a tennis bag. Put my records in the tennis bag and with my mixer in another bag. And and everybody back then wanted me to play it. Asked me, dude, it would be so dope if you'd come to my party and do like a set or for like 15 minutes or for like half an hour or whatever, And I just loved that, the scene was really blowing up back then. And because it was, I think, springtime in 90, and I knew that DMC had the Hamburg one regional in December sometime, like a week before Christmas or something. And that's something I obviously said I need to perform in Hamburg, and I need to just freaking kill it in Hamburg, And before that, I said I'm going to perform at a couple of different regionals, just to kind of, what does it feel like to actually perform, competing, not performing, competing in front of a crowd.
Right.
That I'd be totally ready for Hamburg. And
what was the first regional that you entered?
That was in Kassel. That's about 300 kilometers from Hamburg.
Kassel.
It's famous for its hills. So I went to Kassel, and one guy, Marcos Oviedo, he has a record label, and I'm still in touch with him from that battle. He performed there, and the other guys, I don't know who it was, but I won. I went with a good friend of mine, and I won. I'm totally freaked out, obviously, because I just wanted to go and see what it's like to perform in front of other people, to just kind of get my stripes, and get my name out a little bit. Not really thinking that I might win, but I won. Yeah, and then about a month later, 4 or 5 weeks later, something like that, I went to Frankfurt, but they had another regional there. And I won there too. And I don't remember anyone who was there in retrospect, but I won in Frankfurt. And then I think about 2 or 3 weeks before, Hamburg was supposed to be Berlin. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to Berlin and perform there too, because that's like the ultimate. If you do well in Berlin, it's like basically if you're in Germany, if you're in the States, you would say, if I can make it in New York, I can make it anywhere.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of like what it was like for Berlin. If you go to Berlin, yeah. And then Uwe Maliszewski walked up to me from, and I, and all of a sudden I was this fucking man, like a year before that. He would just let me go on first.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing to be seen. And And a year later, it's the exact opposite. I mean, he literally rolled out the carpet for me, I won two regionals, and he and I knew it, he thought for himself, he thought like, that's our next dude, that's what it felt like for me, the way he treated me. But anyway, so Uwe said, listen, we have a little problem, you can perform here tonight in Berlin, but you can't compete, because there are some good people here. But maybe you'll win, but I don't really want you to win, because that means we have 3 less people in the finals, because you won 2 regionals already. Anyway, so I performed, and I didn't compete. But I do remember then Hamburg coming up in another 4 weeks or something. And then I'm close to the date. I got really sick. I had a really, really bad flu. I was sick for like 2 weeks, and I couldn't perform in Hamburg. And I don't even know who won. Actually, but I had a certain mindset, even go to Cologne, for me it was like, I don't want to sound cocky, but that's just the way it was for me back then. I totally remember that. I went there with my friends with 3 cars. We drove to Cologne, a 6-hour drive, and I remember going in there, and to me it was like, it didn't feel like I came to compete. It really felt like I came there to just win. To me, it was like there's no way I'm losing this battle. There has to be something really crazy that needs to happen for me to lose this, because I was just really confident. So, and this sounds really fucked up in a sense, but dude, this is they call it Großraum disco, like a big discotheque. It wasn't like a club. It was like a huge, they had like a swimming pool on the terrace and shit. It was like a huge, one of the biggest discotheques in Germany, I think. You can only get in with the VIP card, and a bunch of rich people and rich kids, and there was no hip hop crowd there, So I knew that even though it wasn't a hip hop crowd, there was at least like 2-3 things I can do in the battle that to get the crowd going, And when I saw Mirko's routine, I saw that he had a routine, a part of his routine where it was Night of the Living Bass sets from Public Enemy. Chuck D goes, I put this together to rock the bells, And he was doing his backspins with that. And his needle, I think it was because his needle kept skipping, because he wouldn't continue with his set. He would just basically be stuck on this part because he wanted to get it right. And after he was like, it felt like he was for like a minute and a half doing the same thing. And I was like, okay, it's a wrap. I know, but at least I knew that least I knew that he wasn't going to get me, And then there was this guy, Koz, or Kotze, as they call him, really cool guy, and I don't remember what he did musically. I do remember that he had one turntable set on top of another with Sprite cans. But musically, I don't remember what he did, but I do remember it being really, really dope. But again, this guy Koz, he, I thought that he won the battle. So 3rd place, anything behind that, I knew it was going to be between him and myself. So, but at the battle then, and I didn't watch this tape for almost 30 years. I sent it to you last year, I think. And I got it from DJ Friction, and I watched it with my daughters and my wife, and I haven't watched it since '91. I literally have never seen it, And it was crazy seeing it, and then I remember why I was fucking up so bad, because I always remembered that me messing up at the battle and not doing the things that I wanted to do or could have done better or whatever. And if you watch the tape now, you can clearly see that my fader knob keeps falling off. And one time I think I picked it up, another time I did backspins, the thing flew off, and my dude, Matthias, went and looked for the thing and put it back on, and all while I was doing my routine, was totally messing me up, on a mental level also, because there was so much at stake, I'm like, dude, how the fuck is this now going to happen after I traveled and battled with this thing for like a year? And are you seriously doing me like that on my final day, you know. And there was so much at stake, you know, that I was just ready to say fuck all this and you know, go home, you know. But I finished it, and you know, as you can see with my reaction at the end, I never thought that I would win, because I knew that I messed up, you know. And when they called Kotze as second place, and you can see, and I totally remember that scene too. I even told my kids and my wife when we watched them, like, they called his name out, and I put my hands from my face, like, dude, this can't be real. I didn't really fucking win. And, you know, they called my name, and I, you know, flipped out, obviously. And
was David judging it?
Dave was judging, yeah. And he told me after my routine, after everything was done, and he said, yeah, they announced the winner in about half an hour, and I don't think you made top 4. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right, because I totally fucked up. And when I won, he said that he was putting a really good word in for me, which I kind of want to believe, you know, because deep down he was a cool guy, and deep down we were cool with each other.
So there's about like a month between the German final and the world final. How are you practicing? How are you preparing? Like, what's going on?
That's all I was doing, basically. And you know, I have to admit, and you know, all these things, man, like 30 years later, obviously you have a whole different, you would have maybe a different approach being smarter, but we were all kids, you know. I mean, I started doing that shit when I was 15, 16, you know, and it all happened for me really fast at that time, because all I was thinking about is that, man, you know, there's some people think I got talent. As we just said, there was maybe like 3 weeks in between, you know, and I won the mixer, DMC mixer, at the German finals.
Oh, right.
But I didn't even, but they sent it in the mail. I got it like a week or 10 days after, you know, so I had like roughly less than a couple of weeks to prepare with a mixer I've never seen or touched in my life before. You know, I mean, the fader was one thing, but to get used to a different transformer, that was like really what got me uncomfortable, to be honest with you, you know, because there's just a whole different approach you're taking. You know, you just have to practice it, obviously, but the time I had was just not even enough where I can say, you know, I have everything, you know, figured out. So but yeah, all you do is practice all day. You know. There was a few things that I did different, which obviously in the basement were sounding amazing. Just fucking incredible. No, but and at the battle, like a few days before I left, I tried to change some things up, and they were going good. And then a few days before I left, I decided to skip. I believe I skipped It Takes Two, and I took a Hijack record instead. Hijack is a hardcore rap group from the UK back then.
Yeah.
As dumb as it sounds, I thought, like, man, if I play Hijack there, they'll go crazy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that was like the hardcore rap band at the time, you know, but I don't think anybody gave a shit, really.
So has DMC sent you money to go to London, hotel room?
They didn't really send any money. They just sent me the plane ticket, and it was nice. I flew business class. That was
cool.
They really hooked it up, and I went to I don't remember the name, but I went to a really nice hotel. It was a 2-day event. There was a pre show meeting, like the first day. I think there was like a Friday or Thursday or something, where they invited all of us to a club to just, you know, meet and greet and hang out and party or whatever, you know. Everybody was just so happy to be there, you know. You can just see in everybody's eyes, like everybody was just like so stoked that, you know, if there was fucking national titles from like national champions from what, 25
30 maybe 30
countries
places,
or something. So everybody who was there was obviously not just really good at what they do, but you can just see a lot of pride and love in the room, you know. And what was really cool is that everybody had obviously their DMC jackets on, and everybody you see, you just look into the room, and it was always funny because you always see people going behind people's back to see what country it says on the back of their jacket, you know. People were tripping on me because I was the German champ and Dave was the defending world champ, you know. So I don't want to say it built up pressure, but in a sense, you know, people are like, oh shit, you're the guy from Germany. Hey, what's up, man? What's your name? And blah, 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 you know, and they started to get like extra cozy with me, you know. I do know that Elliot Ness was there, and because I remember him from the year before, and I was you know, I do remember talking longer with him because that's somebody I watched before, and I was really impressed by what he was doing. And then I seen Q, you know, I seen this little guy with his cane, walking with the cane, you know, with his beads, and he had like these. He had, you know, when you see like a movie with somebody from the army, like some general, you know how they have like not the stripes on their shoulders, but how they have the red ropes hanging from the shoulder, right? Yeah. And this little dude had like two of these fucking uniform ropes hanging from his DMC jacket. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He's walking with the cane. He had like his beads and his beanie, and he had like this weird little thin little mustache, and then and I looked behind his back, you know, and it said DMC USA. I'm like, oh shit, what's up, man? And as a joke, I said, where's Aladdin, man? Didn't Aladdin because he was my big idol back then, you know? And I was actually hoping to meet him there because he was my absolute fucking hero back then. But yeah, no, I won the battle. My name is Q-Bert, blah blah blah, and that's my partner Alex, you know, and they're like, where you from? And you know, you looked at my jacket. He's like, oh, Germany. Oh shit, man, isn't Dave? You know, is Dave here too? You seen Dave and blah blah blah. And we started to hit it off, and from then on, you know, we hung out the whole weekend basically up until we all left, you know, on 2 days later. And the second day was the eliminations. We had to be there like sometime around noon for sound check, and the shit started really early, whatever, you know. But yeah, so but then nervous, but I think before even being nervous, it was just a lot of gratitude, you know, and I was just humbled to be there, you know. I was just totally stoked to be there. And I was like, you know, God willing, I make it to the finals. And if not, that's okay too, you know, because I'm here with the best in the world, and whatever happens, happens. And then we end up, you know, going there, and everybody, they had like this big bucket, and they had, you know, the numbers in it, and we all literally picked numbers. You know, we all had to pick a number and say our names, and then that's how they got the performing list ready.
Dude, should we watch the set and then you can just like talk about what happened?
Oh my goodness, dude, we can totally do that. Oh, this is gonna be a little embarrassing for me now.
Right. Welcome, first time in the competition, the current German champion, DJ MPK.
Yeah, young as hell. See, it says Islam G on my shirt. Can you see it? And you can see how unclean the transformer button, you know, I'm not hitting it clean at all, you know. I was just really uncomfortable with it.
Getting laid, staying paid, so you know that I'm cool. This time he's matching super serious sound. The devastating, death-defying dictator who's down.
I was actually not good at needle dropping, as you can see. Oh man.
That needle.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. But the needle was skipping crazy. Yeah. And once that happens, you know, it just kind of messes your head up because you have like people watching, a lot of people watching. And it's like, man, this really wasn't necessary, you know. And you can tell it was all about the speed. It wasn't really about like just head nodding. Head nodding wasn't even fashionable back then, I think. Head nodding started like 2 years later. It was the crossfader actually. I think I sprayed, like I put some spray in it.
And everybody check them out, fast money from the cut.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Then even today, when you think about the longer you use the same records,
yeah,
and if you even try to do something different with them, people don't really realize that, unless you're like fucking A-Track or something, you know?
Yeah.
Who can just use 2 records and do something for 20 minutes with them, and it sounds like. And that's the Hijack song.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And I was like, why is nobody cheering, dude?
Oh no, you can hear people.
Yeah, because I don't want to use It Takes Two, man. I was like, fuck that. So 2 days before, I was like, dude, I'm just going to switch it. I know it's a risk, but screw it. I guess I didn't adjust the height of the tone arm or something. I mean, Needle was skipping so much, I didn't even realize that. That was fucking terrible. Dude, I swear to you, it sounded better in the basement. It really did.
I mean, none of this is easy to do.
That's true. Definitely.
Oh, jeez. Okay, let's hear it for MPK from Germany. Give
yeah,
a nice
hear it.
Round of
Damn it.
applause.
Yeah, raise your put them hands up. That's right.
Yeah, so you complete the set. Like, I mean, how are you feeling? What are you thinking at the time?
Felt like crap. And I know I did not do this, you know. I'm certain I did not go and check the height of the tone arm, or check the weight on the tone arm, which I at home always, you know.
Yeah.
I put this all the way down and I turn around the weight to make it heavier, you know, and make sure, and you sound check it and things. I think I didn't do any of that. I think I just, needles were on there and I was just put it on. I was so nervous, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Man, yeah. That's kind of what happens when things go too fast.
Yeah.
Also, what I think was missing, and that's just something I was never good at because it's just kind of not who I am, is putting this act on when you perform. I mean, even now when I play records, you know, even in my heyday or whatever, I was never the I'm on the stage and look at me and I'm making mug faces and doing all the moves, like, you know, that piece was missing. At least you can tell in the German finals I was at least trying to do like a few things to, you know. But in the worlds, maybe that was missing. But it's hard to even have, even if you don't have a showmanship part of your set, it's hard to have to transmit like a calm and safe and secure confident demeanor if you are totally crushed on the inside because your shit is skipping. You cannot perform as you should, you know. So the finals were I think I was having a Coke whiskey after my thing, after I knew I didn't make it, just to kind of calm down. And then at the end, but then again I was just like, okay, it's the finals now, you're in England. Fucking hung out with Q-Bert and Alex, you know, and then there was like I don't know, like an hour or two maybe break between eliminations and finals, and all of a sudden this dude walks in, really skinny looking dude with like 4 or 5 people with him. He had like this red Techniques jacket on, and I was like, oh, that's fucking Dave. And Dave came by to do a little sound check. I mean, the place was packed, but he still went there and he just basically scratched for like 3 minutes and just scratched to check his needles and whatever, and crowd was kind of buzzing, you know. And but yeah, that whole weekend, the 2 days before that already, or 1 or 2 days before that, you know, Al and Q asked me all this shit about what he did, what routines he do, and whatever, and then and we watched the finals together. Alex, Q, and me the entire time. We were together the entire time, watched the whole thing, and then it was Q's turn, and Alex and me stood. You can't. I think you can see Alex a bit, and I was standing basically to Alex's left, so we were standing behind the stage, basically watching Q, and we're like, it's a wrap, he fucking won, and we were all three of us together when Dave, performed, and then Dave performed, and it was really clean what he did. It was a was a good routine, and he did it well. I mean, I don't want to knock that, he did that well, but nevertheless, at the end of his routine, Q and Al and me stood in the corner. We're like, dude, fucking you won, dude. It's over. Got this, And all of a sudden, like literally all of a sudden, it's like, what the fuck is he doing? He's like fucking all of a sudden he puts like this metal round thing in his hand, and he stood up on the table, on a chair or whatever, to kind of try to get up, and we're like, dude, what is he? And then we knew it was like 30 seconds left, And he starts to do his fucking hand spin and starts spinning, doing a hand plant and spinning on the turntable. And we looked at each other like, all three of us, I will never forget this. Our jaws just dropped, and we looked at each other like, no, dude, not because of a hand plant. No. And the crowd went bonkers. Literally, the roof just blew off the fucking place. It was crazy. And Tony Prince, when Tony Prince likes somebody, he puts a little extra on it, I mean, you can see with me, he's like, yeah, MPK from Germany, DJ Dave from there. He was putting a lot into it, and Dave won, man. And after that, we were just, I remember us, I don't even know what we did. We went to get something to eat, Q, Al, and me, and we just walked through the streets of London for like a couple hours into the night. We just walked and talked and held our heads like, dude, a hand plant? Are you serious? Because of the fucking hand plant? And then later that night, was it later that night or the next morning? I think it was actually, then we went to the hotel. They were at a hotel down the street from where I was staying at. And that's where somehow, some way we said, man, that there needs to be a different fucking battle and another different platform. This can't be it. It can't be that people, I mean, Chad Jackson, all respect, do, but scratch with a fucking billiard stick or with a chainsaw or a rugby pill or whatever, you know what I mean? And people doing backflips and deciding a world championship battle. We're like, dude, this is ridiculous, and we were just all kind of upset about it, I mean, but the whole thing was because what Q was doing, and let's be real, Q wasn't clean at all. He was really, really sloppy in that routine. And of course, you can't win the battle just because innovative. It's all about the execution, obviously. And we have to give it to Dave. Dave had a flawless execution of his set. I mean, it wasn't maybe technically, I think it was superior to a lot of people who were performing, but I think overall that Q should have taken it, obviously, just because he brought like something completely new, like things that I mean, so many things that none of them we have ever seen before, seen anybody do before or attempt before, I mean, even looking at these routines now, and obviously the art form has been through so many ups already since then, there were so many different eras within these last 25, 30 years,